Have you ever heard of a story so disturbing, so tragic, that it blurs the line between faith, science, and madness? Today, we're delving into a case that has haunted people for decades, the true, heartbreaking story of Anneliese Michel. This isn't just a tale to scare you. It's a profound look into human suffering, belief, and the devastating consequences that can follow. Anneliese Michel was born on September 21, 1952, into a devoutly Catholic family in Liebelfing, a small town in Bavaria, Germany. She grew up with her three sisters in a household where faith was the cornerstone of life. Her father, Joseph, had considered becoming a priest, and her mother, Anna, was deeply religious. Life for Anneliese was ordinary and pious until 1968, when she was just 16 years old. It started with a violent convulsion. Anneliese's body shook uncontrollably, and she lost consciousness. Her frightened family sought medical help, and doctors diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy. This type of epilepsy can cause seizures, memory loss, and even hallucinations. It was a medical explanation, but for Anneliese it was the beginning of a terrifying descent into what she believed was a spiritual battle for her very soul. Despite being prescribed medication, the seizures continued, but they were accompanied by something far more sinister. Anneliese began experiencing terrifying visions of demonic faces, which she called Fratzen, while she was praying. She started hearing voices, whispers that tormented her, telling her she was damned and that she would rot in hell. These auditory hallucinations were relentless, pushing her deeper into a state of severe depression. The girl, who was once known for her cheerful disposition and piety, became withdrawn and tormented. She spoke of a foul, unbearable stench, like burning feces, that no one else could smell. She grew averse to religious objects, crosses, holy water, even images of Jesus Christ. Walking past a particular chapel would cause her to feel an unbearable inner burning, forcing her to turn back. Her behavior became increasingly erratic and disturbing. Her family was at a loss. They had followed the doctor's orders, but the psychiatric treatments and medications seemed to have no effect. In fact, Anneliese's condition only worsened. She would perform hundreds of squats a day until she collapsed from exhaustion. She would eat spiders, flies, and even coal. She would lick her own urine from the floor and bark like a dog for days on end. The nights were filled with screams and violent outbursts that kept the entire family awake. Desperate and seeing no improvement from modern medicine, Anneliese and her family turned back to their deepest conviction, their faith. They became convinced that this was not a medical issue, but a spiritual one. They believed Anneliese was not sick. She was possessed by demons. A family friend, Thea Eng, noticed Anneliese's aversion to religious artifacts and suggested that she might be possessed. After several rejections from other priests who urged the family to continue medical treatment, they finally found someone willing to listen. Father Ernst Alt, a local pastor, examined Anneliese and, after witnessing her violent reactions to religious blessings, became convinced she was a victim of demonic possession. He petitioned the Bishop of Würzburg, Joseph Stangl, for permission to perform an exorcism. Initially, the bishop was hesitant. The Catholic Church had become much more cautious about authorizing exorcisms since the 17th century. He recommended that Anneliese continue to seek medical and psychiatric help. However, as her condition deteriorated, and after further petitions from Father Alt, the bishop finally granted permission in secret in September 1975. He appointed Father Alt and another priest, Arnold Renz, a seasoned exorcist, to perform the Great Exorcism according to the Roman ritual of 1614, and so began the rite of exorcism. From September 1975 to July 1976, Anneliese endured an astonishing 67 exorcism sessions. These rituals often took place once or twice a week and could last up to 4 hours. During these sessions, the priests commanded the demons to reveal their names. Anneliese's voice would change, speaking in deep guttural tones that seemed impossible for a young woman. She claimed to be possessed by 6 demons: Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot, Nero, Valentin Fleischmann, a disgraced priest from the 16th century, and even Adolf Hitler. The sessions were recorded on over 40 cassette tapes, capturing chilling audio of what transpired. In these recordings, you can hear arguments between the priests and the entities supposedly speaking through Anneliese. They would roar, scream, and hurl insults. The demons, speaking through Anneliese, described gruesome scenes from hell and debated theology with the priests. During this grueling 10-month period, Anneliese's physical health plummeted. She refused to eat, believing that fasting would help weaken the demonic influence. Her body withered away. She developed pneumonia, and her knees ruptured from the constant genuflections she was forced to perform. She was running a high fever and was severely emaciated. Tragically, any medical intervention was rejected. Anneliese herself, in moments of lucidity, refused to be taken to a hospital. Convinced that her suffering was a form of penance to atone for the sins of others, particularly wayward priests and youths, she believed her ordeal had a divine purpose. Her last known words, spoken to her mother, were a request for absolution. On July 1, 1976, Anneliese Michel died in her sleep. She was only 23 years old. At the time of her death, she weighed a mere 68 pounds, suffering from extreme malnutrition and dehydration. The official cause of death was starvation. Her journey, which began with what doctors identified as a neurological disorder, had ended in a battle of faith that cost her her life. But the story didn't end there. The aftermath was a media firestorm and a legal battle that gripped Germany and the world. Prosecutors launched an investigation, and in 1978, Anneliese's parents, Joseph and Anna Michel, along with priests Ernst Alt and Arnold Renz, were charged with negligent homicide. The trial, known as the Aschaffenburg trial, became a sensational debate between psychiatric explanation and religious belief. The prosecution argued that Anneliese's death was a direct result of the parents' and priests' negligence. They contended that she was a mentally ill young woman who was denied life-saving medical care. Had she been force-fed and properly treated, she could have been saved. The defense, on the other hand, played the audio tapes from the exorcisms in court, attempting to prove that she was genuinely possessed. They argued they were acting on Anneliese's own wishes and were trying to save her soul. The court was faced with an impossible task: to legally adjudicate a matter of faith. In the end, all four defendants, the parents and the two priests, were found guilty of manslaughter resulting from negligence. However, the court's sentence was surprisingly lenient. They were given a 6-month suspended prison sentence and 3 years of probation. The judge stated that they had suffered enough, a sentiment that acknowledged the complexity and tragedy of the situation. The Anneliese Michel case had a profound impact. It forced the Catholic Church to reevaluate its exorcism rites. The German Bishops' Conference later declared that Anneliese was not possessed, but was mentally ill. The case remains a stark and cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing religious fervor over medical science, especially when a life is at stake. Her story has continued to fascinate and horrify, becoming a cultural touchstone for discussions on exorcism. It inspired the 2005 film The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which brought her story to a global audience, though it took creative liberties by setting the story in America. A year later, a more faithful German film, Requiem, offered a different perspective, focusing more on Anneliese's psychological struggle within her restrictive environment. So, what really happened to Anneliese Michel? Was she a mentally ill girl failed by both the medical system and her family as extreme religious beliefs? Or was she a modern-day martyr, a victim of a genuine demonic possession who sacrificed herself for a greater good? The truth is likely buried somewhere in the complex interplay of epilepsy, psychosis, religious indoctrination, and family dynamics. Her grave in Klingenberger, Maine, remains a site of pilgrimage for some who believe she was a pious woman who fought a spiritual war. For others, it's a somber reminder of a life cut tragically short. This story forces us to ask difficult questions. Where does mental illness end and spiritual crisis begin? And how do we, as a society, care for those who fall into the chasm between? The tragic case of Anneliese Michel offers no easy answers, only a chilling and deeply human story that continues to resonate to this day. If you or anyone you know is struggling with mental health, please remember that seeking professional help is a sign of strength. There are resources available, and you don't have to go through it alone. Thank you for joining me in exploring this incredibly sad and complex case. If you found this story compelling, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.